Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Now, I recently finished reading East of Eden by John Steinbeck, and I was quite confused on what to read because that was quite a lengthy book. It was, going on generational family dramas and sagas that were happening, and after finishing that I kind of wanted something a bit quicker, shorter and more direct, if that makes sense. And after doing a bit of research, I decided on reading some of Franz Kafka. Now you may be thinking, is that really easier to read? No, it's not. It is more philosophical than I anticipated, but nevertheless I did pick up a copy of Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. And I didn't know at the time, but this whole book is not Metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is about 200 pages in the 250 pages, sorry, 80 pages in the 250 pages that are there in this book. And the rest are filled with these amazing kind of short stories, kind of almost paragraphs. There are a few paragraphs, let me just, like this one, The Rejection, it's just that. And my favourite one that I've read is The Sudden Walk, which I do want to talk about in a later video, but I want to get to properly analysing it and dissecting the writing. But today's video is more centred around one of his most celebrated works, Metamorphosis. And I read it in one sitting because, as I mentioned, it's not too long, it's about 80 pages. And after reading it, I had these emotions, thoughts just floating around my head, so I kind of needed a bit of time to just be with myself and reflect on what I just read and the philosophies of the book. Now, for those who haven't read Metamorphosis, I do recommend reading it, but just to give a quick summary, it's a short story centered around four main characters, and the kind of main character is called Gregor Samsa, and he is this traveling salesman who is financially responsible and is the main breadwinner for his family. And one day he wakes up from bed and realizes he is a giant cockroach. Now, that may seem quite absurd to a lot of people, and even to me when I first heard about the concept of this book. But that's what drew me to read it, honestly. And once he does turn into this cockroach, once he awakens and he realizes that he's turned into this cockroach, his first initial thought is not how he turned into a cockroach. I mean, it was like almost a flash of a moment. He was like, how am I a cockroach? But he's more worried about getting to work than turning back into human, or even fathoming how he even turned into a cockroach in the first place. His main thought process is, oh no, I'm running late to work, because he had to leave at 4 AM or 5 AM, I can't really remember, and he woke up at something about quarter to 7. And his main first kind of most urgent idea was, I missed my train, I have to get the next one, will I make it in 15 minutes as a giant cockroach? Which, when I read it, I laughed out loud, because I was just quite surprised. I was like, there's no way this guy's even thinking this. He's just transformed into a bug, and his first main kind of thought is to get to work. And I soon realized why, after learning about how financially his family depended on him, and he was putting on a different face almost to his family, just so that they could be pleased with him and be happy with him. And I don't want to spoil the book, but his family just completely abandoned him, in all honesty. After learning that he doesn't do the same roles as he used to do as the Gregor who financially provides for us, he can't fulfill that role anymore. His family just completely abandon him and are ashamed of him. You know, going as far as pushing him back into his room with a broomstick, throwing apples at him so hard that it penetrates him and it becomes rotten, leading to, you know, a series of unfortunate events, basically. Now, reflecting on this book, it made me think about a lot of things, and especially the character of Gregor Samsa is quite complex. Because as I mentioned earlier, he puts this facade, this kind of face onto his family, because he doesn't want to disappoint them. And I think that, you know, we do that in our lives a lot as well. We almost portray a different character in front of different people, just so that we can fit in and not disappoint them. But soon you realize that you're bound to disappoint someone, because you are not you. You're portraying this fake character that you made up just to please the other person, but not presenting who you truly are. There's this Japanese philosophy that I read up on a couple of months ago and I found quite interesting, and I thought it was quite related to the book of Metamorphosis. Now, this philosophy describes humans as fundamentally having three faces. Now, the first face is the one you show to the people, you know, outside, as in strangers, colleagues, people in school, classmates and whatnot. It's almost your kind of outside surface of who you are. Now, the second face is who you show to your close friends, your family, your inner circle. And now, the final mask, the last mask, is your truest reflection. It is who you are when you're by yourself. And I feel like Gregor never really understands his first face, because he's always living up to the expectations of his parents, of his sister, that he never really explores his first mask because he's always putting on his second mask. And when he's locked away in his room, you really get to see, I mean, Franz Kafka writes really well his first mask, his truest reflection. Now, the fact that Gregor prioritizes his work over himself, to be honest, was also a reminder to me to, you know, live in the moment. Because it's so easy to get carried away by the possibility of future events, the possibility of X, Y, Z happening, and there is a high chance of that not even happening in the first place. I mean, I'm sure that we all have, you know, a situation, a setting in our mind that we thought would be the biggest deal until it wasn't. And you look back on it and you're like, first of all, it wasn't as big as it seemed if it did happen, and second of all, it didn't even happen. It could be one of those two things. Or the third thing is it could have really happened, but that is a very small percentage of how many worries and how many thoughts you have in your head about the future. You might wake up and think, oh no, I have this assignment due, I have to go to work on time, I have to do this, that. Now, a small fraction of those will actually come true. A large majority, the majority, will not come true, and you're making these false assumptions and predictions in your mind that might not even come true. This book taught me to be in the present and to live in the now, because you don't know how predictable the future is. And I think it's really important to consider that. Because what's scary is you don't know if you're going to wake up tomorrow at all. You could be dead any second of the day, and I don't think enough people fathom that. You know, in this moment, I could die, and that's scary. But, you know, knowing that, we can't just, you know, we can't just center our whole life around it and live in constant fear of dying. We'll have to accept it, embrace it, and come to terms with it. It's almost linked to my last video in the sense of you have no control, so just embrace your fate. I think reading this book was very good for me in the sense that it humbled me. It did make me realise to live in the now, live in the present, and be grateful that, you know, you haven't woken today as a cockroach. But, you know, it also taught me that anything could happen, and who knows, you might wake up tomorrow as a cockroach too.